Welcome back to Sam IT. I'm Scott Allen Miller, and today we're going to look at why we see so many dangerous or risky products in IT, get so many people, including end users, promoting them when they clearly seem like they're risky. This may be confusing, and it relates to the review problem, which is that you really can't trust online reviews. They don't mean very much. Whether you're looking at ratings or just descriptions, it's very difficult to figure out exactly what someone is actually reviewing. Have you ever spent time looking at reviews? Go through, especially IT products. Go to a major review site for IT. Go through reviews. Look at things that are highly rated with lots of stars. Spend some time actually reading the reviews. Something you tend to find pretty quickly is that you have a very high percentage of people who can't figure out if 5 stars or 1 star means good or bad. It's backwards so often that the statistics are kind of meaningless. Like, it's so bad that how do you ever pull out a number from it in some way that you could use in some useful way? Yet, basically, you can't. So the star rating becomes pointless. You have to read what individuals intended. But if you read descriptions, quite often you'll discover that the descriptions don't match the product. Sometimes they're reviewing a completely different product. Sometimes they're reviewing something that doesn't seem like anything and you have no idea what they're talking about. Sometimes they're reviewing services around the product, such as the logistics from UPS or FedEx in getting it to them, or the quality of the seller who sold it to them, or whether or not they selected the right product for their needs. It's kind of like reviewing the McDonald's cheeseburger and saying, well, I thought I was ordering a pizza, therefore I'm unhappy with this cheeseburger. That's not really a review of the cheeseburger, that's a review of your ordering process. And then we should probably review your reviewing process. But the problem is, reviews are like this. When you have anonymous reviews that are not being overseen by somebody to cull them for quality, you get garbage. Garbage in, garbage out. But people like reviews because they make things seem simple, and they like star systems even more because it seems like you can take all this knowledge in reviews and distill it to a few stars and suddenly know something about a product. Well, you can't. It's gibberish. We have the same problem with a lot of products in IT, especially ones that tend to be kind of risky. A lot of times, risky products are sold because they're quick and easy or offer some really cool solution set. And this makes them seem really neat because they do something that other things don't do. Often because it makes them risky. From inverted pyramids of doom to software that is affected by the Jurassic Park effect, we see this all the time. And if you talk to people who have purchased these things or implemented these things, they will very often promote them themselves. Of course, vendors promote them because they're being paid to. But we're talking about normal, everyday people who may be making a review of the product or simply telling people that they know why they like their product. I got product X, it's been great for me, I've had no problems, therefore I recommend it to you. Why they do this, we don't know, because we know that the thing we're concerned about, in most cases, is how risky the product is. If they haven't run into problems, they don't know how risky it is because they've never experienced those problems to figure out how it plays into their specific scenario. Let's take a real-world example. There's a really well-known NAS OS that is affected by the Jurassic Park effect very heavily. That is actually one of the better ones in its field, but still has an awful lot of problems of its own. A lot of people promote this particular product, and they do so because it is generally, one, heavily advertised, so they feel like they're part of a cool group by being one of the people who implement this. It has a big community of not very technical people around it, so even if they don't understand the product very well, they can feel part of that community and participate because they're not very technical in general. That's not a great way to promote a product from an actual healthier organization standpoint, but it makes the individuals involved feel a lot better than they normally would, hence leading to the promotion of the product in that way. Because the product is so incredibly easy to implement up front, basically it completely lacks front-loaded engineering, people feel that this big effort of doing a good job and planning properly and learning the product can be skipped because they got up and running. It's working. They know it works because they're using it today. How can you question because they have it working? Well, the concern of this specific product, and many like it, is that when anything goes wrong, anything at all of that ease of use goes away, and all of the protection that allowed you to get up and running quickly also goes away. You are left suddenly needing not only as much knowledge and planning and preparation and skill as you would with competing products of a different type that are much more appropriate, you actually need more because the product is encumbered with all this extra cruft that isn't actually needed. It does a bunch of things that you've never done and don't have documented anywhere. And because it's a niche product instead of a broad market product, you can't get good people to support you because all of the people who use it are in the same boat that you are, that they were trying to skip doing their planning and engineering up front, and they are all hoping for the best and just hoping nothing goes wrong as well. So when you turn to your community, you're kind of left in the cold a lot of the time because they don't know. And if you turn to the people who are the experts from other communities, they don't know the specifics and you don't have them documented. So you might get help, but you don't get as much help as you would have had you gone with the quote-unquote harder product that in reality is easier under its full lifetime use case. These products very often hide the things that make them dangerous and just hold them off to the future so that things will fail later after all the people who gave you the advice have run away. We see the same thing with poor implementations of, for example, Hyper-V. This one I'll mention by name because it's not Hyper-V's problem, it's an implementation problem. Hyper-V is available in two ways. One, as a role. You install Windows Server OS, and then you enable the Hyper-V role. And Microsoft does a bunch of work to lift up the operating system and shim Hyper-V in underneath of it, making the operating system that you initially installed into a virtual machine. You can also install Hyper-V directly from a downloadable Hyper-V ISO. It's free. You then install Hyper-V, then you can install Windows operating system on top of it in a VM if you so desire. If you did both of these things, at the end of the day you would have the same result. Except one of them, Hyper-V is encumbered by the way that it was installed, and while technically there are ways to fix this, they're a lot of work, they constitute technical debt, and they leave you in a position where it's more difficult to service things in the future. But it is popular, especially among people who are speaking in communities where there are points involved or some kind of clout attached to mentioning quick and easy answers, to promote this quick and easier method or perceived quick and easier method because it gets you up and running and gets you through this feeling of having made things easy, even though it's actually set you up for failures in the future where you either are going to be crippled by the decisions you made today, or you need even more technical information to know how to maneuver things to fix the problem you just created. Had you taken a few extra minutes to do it the way that's considered proper from the beginning, you would have front-loaded your engineering and saved yourself from some of the technical debt and some of the potential risks in the future. It's a unfortunate thing within IT that it is so often just complex enough that there's a combination of people who want to look impressive or get quick answers or simply get their own decisions validated, that they are willing to put other people at risk because they feel that the amount of time likely before that risk is realized is so long that it probably won't come back to them ever. No one will ever bother following up 3 years down the road to say, did you know about this? Did you really recommend this and think I wouldn't find out eventually? They don't really do that. People, partially because the people who went 3 years down the road, maybe it's a different person in the company, or maybe they don't remember how that decision was made, and maybe they don't even put the pieces together to realize had they not followed that bad advice that they wouldn't be in the situation they are now. It actually requires a bit to have figured all these pieces out 3 years down the road or 5 years down the road. And then there's the other group who simply don't know because they did it themselves, they aren't paying attention, they aren't looking at the factors and are just recommending something they've heard of or have done themselves and have not faced those things. Or if they have faced them, again, they may not have realized that they could have avoided the problems that they just caused. So because of this, there's a tendency to promote risky things that are quick and easy to get up and running simply because of the way the market pressure works, whether it's your personal market pressure or online compensation in clout and things like that. So it's a difficult thing to fix, but it's important to understand this, that when people are giving you advice or when you're giving advice, to understand that just because somebody says that it's been good for them in this way, it doesn't imply that they actually know, because unless they faced the problems that come with the assumed failure problems, their impression of whether the system is any good means, quite literally, Nothing. They're answering about something that's kind of unrelated. They're only answering about how easy it is to install, not how good it actually is for their environment. They're not doing the risk calculations or experiencing the risk problems to have identified whether they are as significant or not as we are concerned that they may be. If you run into situations like this, I see them every day, and it's a major problem that people are promoting these things. And it's important for us as IT to call them out. If you know it's happening, make sure to say something. And if you want to discuss it, put it in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe. And as always, you can sponsor us on Patreon. The link will be in the description. Discover how easy and affordable business telephone service can be. Say it with Talkadillo.